In the 7th year of living together, my boyfriend still hadn't proposed. One day, I went to my boyfriend's office to deliver lunch as usual, but I saw him exchange a knowing smile with someone across the desk. I followed his gaze and saw it land on his ex-girlfriend. Murphy. I suddenly recalled one evening last month, when he was anxious and stressed about the project proposal, and I stood beside him wanting to massage his head to relieve the pain. He pushed me away. What could you possibly understand? I'm very annoyed right now. Don't make things worse. Go wash the clothes I changed out of today. I stood frozen at the doorway, stunned for a long time. So long that I didn't even know when they had finished discussing things. Until Murphy he turned to leave and saw me. She turned back. Yen Lang. Let's finalize the project proposal like this for now, and then see what the NPV results of the entire project are like before making a decision. Her bright red manicure tapped on Gu Yanlang's desk. Oh right. This afternoon's schedule is for you and me to go to President Wang's company. You can take a look at the related materials first. Gu Yanlang was looking down and flipping through the materials, not noticing me standing at the door. I stood at the door carrying a lunchbox, listening to those long unheard professional terms. Feeling somewhat uneasy, Murphy's provocative gaze shot out from the room. Then she suddenly lowered her head and smiled, saying something in Russian. Your nanny is here. He looked up at me standing at the door with a lunchbox, then at Murphy, and just smiled without saying anything. My mood plummeted. He probably forgot that I speak Russian, having graduated from the Department of Russian Language at Peking University with honors. I clearly understood what she meant, and the smile on Gu Yanlang's lips was enough to show that he also agreed. Perhaps this is how he sees me. Ever since his gastrectomy, I've been racking my brains to come up with recipes for him. He's picky about what he eats and how it tastes, forcing me, someone who couldn't tell salt from sugar, to become someone who can cook a week's worth of meals without repeating a dish. But all of this, just to be called a nanny. Gu Yanlang flipped through the documents for a long time before remembering me. Just put the lunch box there. The whole department is going out for dinner tonight. Murphy giggled, acting spoiled. Yen Lang, can I ride in your car today? You know I get carsick. She glanced at me, who was standing there dumbfounded. Bow. Yunwen shouldn't mind. Right. This wasn't the first time she'd ridden in his car. If she really didn't want me to know, she wouldn't have deliberately left her things in the car. I didn't reply to her and was about to go out after putting down the lunchbox, but my heart felt like it was stuffed with cotton, and my emotions were sticky and damp. I suddenly turned my head. Do you have anything to say to me? He was adjusting his shirt sleeves and looked up at me in confusion when he heard the sound. His eyes like a pool of stagnant water. A button fell off your shirt. You need to be more careful when you hand wash it in the future. Oh, and there's a coat of mine in the inner office. Could you please take it to the dry cleaners for me? Murphy suddenly jumped up. Ah, my shirt also has some red wine stains on it. Could Sister Yunwen please take it to wash as well? My temples throbbed a few times. I accidentally got it dirty last time, so I changed it in Yanlang's room. Her bean pasta-colored lipstick was smeared on her lips, making her seem extremely flamboyant at this moment. Gu Yanlang didn't even look at me and replied. Okay. It felt like something in my heart had gently shattered. We've lived together for 7 years. Not yet married, but living like a married couple for a very long time. I should have understood, and shouldn't have had any expectations. I paused for a moment, and finally glanced at the lonely lunchbox in the corner. I didn't reply to him, and just walked out. As I left, his assistant, Zhang Chong, saw me and said, Yunwen, let's have lunch together. I shook my head and left without a word. I randomly hopped on a bus and found a window seat. The summer sun shone through the window onto my face, and I traveled through the alternating light and shadows, suddenly not wanting to go home. But my mind is still masochistically replaying the way he looked at her. It was the kind of tacit, admiring gaze reserved for lovers, and I haven't had that in a long time. When did things start to change? It was probably one night when he was anxious and stressed about the project proposal, and I was standing next to him wanting to massage his head to relieve the pain. He frowned slightly and pushed me away. What could you possibly understand? I'm very annoyed right now. Don't make things worse. My hand froze in midair. He probably realized his tone was too harsh and softened it a bit, saying, "Go wash the clothes I changed out of today." That night, I silently left his room, and he didn't notice anything unusual about me. In the past, he would have definitely noticed. Just like a moment ago, even Zhang Chong would say, "Let's have lunch together," but he couldn't even be bothered to say something symbolic. Besides, I've already given him a hint. The summer sun was intense, but it cast a chill over my heart. In his heart, have I finally been reduced to nothing more than a complete nanny? I opened his WeChat messages, and the chat history was still on the message I sent him half an hour ago. "I made your favorite shrimp and scrambled eggs for you today." But he didn't reply. My heart ached terribly, as if someone had forcibly ripped it open, leaving a bloody wound. It's really hard to imagine. He would be the one from 4 years ago who secretly put the property in my name without his parents knowing. He said, "I love you. Of course I can give you anything. Times change." And he already has several properties, but only this one is in my name. It seems that material things are much more loyal than love. I got off at the next stop and went home to start packing. In the process of packing, I broke down and cried several times. But the only thing that could comfort me was that, fortunately, I wasn't married, so breaking up was easier. In the 4th year of living together, I turned 30, and I really started wanting to get married, but he refused. He said he wasn't ready. We had a big fight. But when he made a slight attempt to reconcile, I forgave him without hesitation. Is this foreshadowing a breakup? Perhaps the ending was already faintly written, and every day I spent endlessly catering to him and humbly bowing my head. I carefully packed all my belongings, then took a taxi to a hotel and slept. When I woke up, it was already dark. I picked up my phone and saw a message from Gu Yanlang, "Working overtime tonight." I smiled, my heart completely unmoved. There was no longer the feeling of loneliness from waiting for him to come home like in the old days. I put my phone aside and turned the TV in the room up to the maximum volume. The TV series Goodbye Lover was playing, and the female guest's cries when facing separation were so real that they were heartbreaking. It's probably true that every relationship begins with genuine feelings, but few manage to maintain them until the end. In the past, every time we had a conflict, I would cry my eyes out. But strangely, this time I didn't feel like crying at all. I checked my phone once while watching TV. Gu Yanlang sent me a message asking where the tampons were in my house. The hand holding my phone tightened, then relaxed. "I've already moved out." He replied almost instantly, "What's wrong?" I suddenly felt suffocated. It was like punching cotton. I should write a lot to talk about my recent thoughts, about those neglected emotions, those taken for granted sacrifices, and those increasingly silent moments between him and me. But I only felt it was in vain. "Yan Lang, let's just stop here." His phone call came immediately after. "Is it really that bad if a female colleague forgot to bring a tampon and just borrowed yours?" I didn't speak. His output continued. "Okay, I'll give you more money tomorrow. Can't you just buy some more?" I sneered. "I'm allergic to Murphy. Is this the first day you know that?" He was silent for a long while, tacitly acknowledging my guess that the so-called female colleague was Murphy. His tone was full of impatience when he spoke again. "I've said it so many times. We're just ordinary friends now." I was too lazy to argue with him as usual, and interrupted him directly. "There's a supermarket downstairs. Go down and buy it quickly. It's getting late. Let her sleep in your room tonight." What is the best way for adults to end a relationship? The best way is to fully accept the ending, not to say another meaningless word, and not to make any unnecessary movements. After hanging up the phone, I curled up on the windowsill listening to the sound of rain. And Gu Yanlang rarely sent me a 60-second voice message on WeChat. "Stop it. Okay. I'm already exhausted dealing with company matters. Can you please not be so paranoid? Even if she stays over tonight, nothing will happen between us. Okay." I stared blankly at the WeChat interface, suddenly feeling grateful that we separated today. I'm truly disgusted by their lack of boundaries. More than once, I've seen the WeChat messages Murphy sent him late at night. Long essays recounting their past experiences together. More than once, I angrily shook him awake from his sleep, demanding that he explain everything to me word by word. But at that time, after a brief moment of confusion, he would only say coldly, "This is a past fact. There's nothing I can do if you want to go back and investigate." I stood there, feeling as if the blood in my body had frozen. They must have been, with feelings growing wildly in the shadows I couldn't see. After thinking about it, I still raised my hand and replied to the message. "She's on her period. What did you want to happen?" After the message was sent, the WeChat chat interface stayed on typing for a long time, but nothing was sent. I laughed at myself. This must be the confidence he had when he made the promise. But I wasn't that sad either. I clicked on his WeChat profile picture one last time and looked at it for a few seconds. Without hesitation, I clicked delete. I spent a week finding a house and moving. I've always wanted to go to Tibet, and now is a good time to set off. Just before boarding the plane, my best friend, who was in confinement, suddenly called me. I answered with confusion, but was greeted by her surprised voice first. "You broke up. You and Gu Yanlang. How could you possibly break up?" My mood sank. "We did." She was extremely excited. "I just saw it on Moments. He's already announced your breakup." I couldn't help but feel a tightening in my throat. "Oh, really?" She felt a little regretful. "But you were the one who caught my wedding bouquet. I thought you guys would get married." When I caught the bouquet, I thought so too. At that time, I looked at him full of anticipation, but met his indifferent eyes. "What's so good about getting married? Aren't we already married as we are now?" I couldn't care less about appearances, and cried like a child who wanted a toy but couldn't get it for a long time. "But I just want it." He coldly said I was being unreasonable and then left, leaving me standing there in tears. Coming back to my senses, my best friend was still chattering on the other end of the phone. I interrupted her. "My plane is about to take off." She hesitated for a long time. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Just a man." She paused for a long time on the phone, and finally only said, "You've changed." I suddenly felt enlightened. In this deteriorated relationship, he began to stray, and I began to withdraw. No one can stay in the same place. After hanging up her phone, I boarded the plane alone. When the plane reached an altitude of 10,000 meters, all I could see were large, thick clouds. I suddenly thought of when we first lived together, and he and I were fooling around on the cloud-printed sheets. He said, "Xiao Yunwen, having you as my only woman is enough for me." I really, truly believed it. I recall the time we traveled to Malaysia together, and I had acute gastroenteritis and my period at the same time. Gu Yanlang was extremely anxious. He carried me to the hospital and anxiously described my symptoms to the doctor. When the nurse was giving me N4, he carefully handed me a pack of tampons. My stomach was killing me, but I still burst out laughing. But he started shouting, "I only bought them because it's you. I wouldn't help anyone else buy them." I believe he was once truly sincere towards me, but sincerity is fleeting. It's also hard for me to imagine that he would one day become someone who buys tampons for someone else. The regrets and grievances that had been deliberately suppressed surged from my heart in an instant, and I finally broke down in tears at 10,000 meters above the ground. But this relationship should have ended long ago, shouldn't it? It was only my limitless compromise that prolonged it until now. Undeniably, Gu Yanlang has been improving over the years, while I have been standing still. And the gap between us has long been widening bit by bit. After all, a relationship that isn't equal in strength is only a matter of time before it loses to novelty. The day I came back, I first made a detour to my best friend's house to attend the full moon banquet. The banquet hadn't started yet, and I was holding the chubby orange, kissing it, and couldn't put it down. My best friend hesitated. "The days you were abroad." He also called me. I was only preoccupied with playing with the orange. "And then what?" My best friend said anxiously. "I've already scolded him fiercely to vent your anger. He already knows he was wrong. Or else, why don't you give it another try?" My best friend's mother also said anxiously from the side. Girl, we're not getting any younger. Enough is enough. Don't be so picky. Besides, Auntie thinks that young man is actually not bad. Not bad. Huh. He has a career and income that most people would consider decent. He has a handsome and refined appearance. And is tall, making him a hot commodity even in the blind date market. But how can one step into the same river twice? I shook my head. Probably not. My best friend wanted to say something more, but I snatched the oranges back into her arms and made an excuse to go out for some air. The moment I turned around, I suddenly noticed Gu Yanlang standing right behind me. After a long time, he had a scruffy beard, and his shirt was much more wrinkled. He stood in front of me, staring at me intently. Where have you been? I told the truth. I went on a trip. He moved his lips, but only managed to say, I miss you. I must understand the weight of those 3 words. He used to comfort me like that countless times during arguments, and I always appreciated it. How could I be the only one left scarred and broken when we once loved each other so deeply? Memories of making up after past arguments flooded my mind, to the point where I could even recount the reasons for each fight. He secretly hired He Mafei at his company without telling me. He asked He Mafei to help him choose my birthday gift for me. He never accepted Murphy's advances. But he never refused them either. I suddenly realized at this moment that, in my heart, I hadn't actually made up with him. I was just good at hiding my emotions because I was afraid of losing him, pretending that we had reconciled. But now, I'm not afraid of anything anymore. When I saw the glittering stars in the dark sky in Tibet, it felt like all my disappointments had disappeared. I began to understand that humans are just a drop in the ocean of time, let alone love. And then, thank you. He kept rubbing the corner of his clothes with his hands. That night, it happened to be her period, and she was in so much pain. That's why I took her home. He sped up his speech. If it would make you happy, I can fire her right now. I chuckled softly. Okay. His pupils dilated instantly. But he quickly composed himself. You didn't used to be so aggressive. I shook my head. This was clearly the real me. Accommodating him was just an exception, but he treated it as the norm. But I suddenly became interested and kept asking him, are you going to fire her or not? He lowered his eyes and deleted all her contact information in front of me. But I don't believe him at all anymore. He raised his phone at me, looking at me humbly. Don't be angry. Okay. He took out a bank card from his pocket. This is all my property. It's all yours. I stood quietly in front of him, suddenly recalling how he used to be just like this, handing over all his money to me for safekeeping. At that time, he had just started his business and often stayed up late for social engagements, with irregular meals, and fell seriously ill. Although he recovered and was discharged from the hospital later, he needed someone to take care of his diet and manage his household affairs because part of his stomach had been removed. He said, come and help me. I'll let you manage all my money. I once jokingly asked him, are you going to take care of me for the rest of my life? His eyes were firm. I relish it. Before I could pull my thoughts back, he seemed to suddenly gain confidence and took my hand proactively. I'll go get your luggage and bring it home. I only gently evaded his hand. Who said anything about getting back together with you? I blinked at him. We broke up a week ago. Remember? He stared at me in disbelief, his face filled with the anger of being deceived. Just now, weren't you? You tricked me. You. I picked up my small bag. You added the premise yourself. I didn't guide you in any way. So reluctant to part ways. Then add her back. I stood in front of him. You probably know her number by heart already, right? His eyes suddenly dimmed. After returning from my best friend's house, I started sending out resumes. It's a bit embarrassing to admit, but as someone in my 30s, I'm still competing for the same positions as college students. But this is the price I paid for leaving the workforce a few years ago. I deserve it. In the days of waiting for the interview results, I began to get used to going to the market to buy groceries in the afternoon, and then buying a bouquet of flowers from the flower shop on the street to take home. Life was extremely pleasant. It was just that when I suddenly met Gu Yanlang one afternoon, I was still stunned for a moment. The evening sun cast on him softening the sharp temperament he usually had. We stared at each other like that. And he spoke first. Come back. Okay. I know I was wrong. I haven't contacted her during this time. You can ask Zhang Chang and the others. I promise there won't be a next time. Okay. I laughed mockingly. Since when has not contacting her become a bargaining chip? Isn't this what you should have been doing all along? I raised my eyebrows. Then thank you for your hard work. For putting up with me for so long. He frowned. Can you stop being so sarcastic? I couldn't be bothered with him and walked straight past him, ready to go home. But he followed me all the way. Relentless. Xiao Yunwen. You've been spoiled by me. You're over 30 and want to return to the workplace. What makes you think you can compete with those fresh graduates? Ask yourself honestly. Have I treated you badly these years? Why can't we go back to how things were before? He softened his tone. I brought you your favorite roast goose. I interrupted him. You know, I actually don't like roast goose at all. The time you brought it home for me after work. I acted happy just because you were thinking of me. Not because I loved eating roast goose. We've lived together for 7 years. But you actually know nothing about me. Or rather, you don't want to put any effort into me. And you can't be bothered to notice my emotions. The reason people feel loved is because they are seen. I have walked alone through the long, dark tunnel with great difficulty. And I really don't want to go back to the past. He was visibly stunned for a moment. His lips moving slightly. I think he probably wanted to defend himself. But in the end, he said, since you're determined to separate, then let's separate. Haven't you always been suspicious of me and Murphy? This time, it'll give you something to be suspicious about. The more he spoke, the angrier he became. And he finally stormed off. I was lucky enough to find a job. No longer revolving my life around Gu Yanlang. I began to focus more of my time on myself. I learned how to make coffee and also used my salary to sign up for a swimming class. It's just that as I get older, the unavoidable blind date calls from home are also giving me a headache. My mom said, daughter, a woman's prime is only so short. If you don't hurry, you'll be left on the shelf. But I just feel so tired. Like I've just finished running a marathon. And I'm eager to give myself a break. Seeing that I couldn't refuse, I gave a perfunctory response. Only saying that I would definitely be there tomorrow. When I arrived at the coffee shop the next afternoon, Su Feng, the blind date my mother had introduced, was already there. He had a fairly delicate appearance and was wearing a white shirt, which made him look very youthful. I had just sat down when I saw Himofi walk in, intimately holding Gu Yanlang's arm. Gu Yanlang's gaze was fixed intently on me. We just stared at each other like that. He really did what he said he would. And he really got together with Himofei. Himofei looked at me warily. Yanlang, let's go to a different coffee shop. Okay. But Gu Yanlang seemed not to hear and sat directly behind me. We sat back to back like that. I could even feel the warmth radiating from him. I heard Himofi say to him in a coquettish tone, help me order. You know my taste. I also heard Gu Yanlang chuckle softly and say, your stomach hurt a few days ago. Drink less coffee. Let me order something else for you. I was a little distracted. I had imagined countless scenarios of meeting again after the breakup. But none of them were like this. Su Feng probably sensed something and desperately tried to find topics to talk about. And I answered him absent-mindedly. I have to say, blind dates are really no different from job interviews. He asked me, would you be willing to be a stay-at-home wife after marriage? I picked up the coffee on the table and took a sip. No. His eyes suddenly lit up. Then I respect your wishes. My fondness for him suddenly increased at that moment. Perhaps this is what a healthy romantic relationship should look like, not just one side trying to please the other, but both people growing into their own selves. When I finished my coffee, I felt like I wanted more. Su Feng suggested taking a walk around the edge, and I gladly agreed. But when I went to the restroom, I ran into Himofei. She was aggressive, grabbed my hand, her long, beautiful nails almost digging into my flesh. Why are you always haunting me like this? I was a little dazed. What? She gripped my hand tightly. Do you know why Gu Yanlang started his own business? It's because my mother disliked him playing in a band without a proper job and didn't want me to be with him. I think you should know that you are the one who stole 7 years from us. My hands were still under the faucet, rinsing. And I even forgot to turn it off. Thinking back to when I first met Gu Yanlang, it was at the Strawberry Music Festival on campus. He was the bassist. I loved the way his hands danced under the flashing lights. And I loved the focused look on his face when he sang. After that, I began to pursue him relentlessly, but he remained unmoved. The day I started wanting to give up, he suddenly blocked me on my bike. He said, "Xiao Yunwen, do you still like me?" I was speechless. He smiled and said, "If you still like me, let's be together." Joy overwhelmed my mind. And I hugged him impulsively. For a long time after we were together, I kept asking him why he didn't continue playing in the band. His expression suddenly turned sad. And he just said it was nothing. I suddenly understood everything at this moment. Now I understand why he suddenly accepted me that rainy night. Now I also understand why he decided to start his own business. Everything. Just because of her. The faucet is still running. And my thoughts are slowly returning. I'm not interested in your past. But you were the one who gave up on him in the first place. Right. A look of pain flashed across Murphy He's face. And tears streamed down her cheeks. He would look at your photos when he slept next to me at night. I actually knew all along. I beg you, give him back to me. I couldn't help but laugh. The way you are now. How are you any different from the way I used to be? Her eyes suddenly widened. But I'm still glad that you can taste what I felt back then today. The disillusionment of fantasy. Perhaps this is the greatest revenge against her. When I came out of the bathroom, I happened to see Gu Yanlang talking to Su Feng. My heart sank. Su Feng is just someone I just met, and I don't want him to know more about my past. I hurriedly grabbed my bag, urging Su Feng, "Didn't you want to go somewhere else? Let's go." Su Feng stood up and politely said goodbye to him. I breathed a sigh of relief as we walked out of the cafe. I don't know what he and Su Feng talked about, which led to him being silent all the way. I was a little embarrassed. I'm sorry. He is my ex-boyfriend. I didn't think it would be like this. He was silent, and I sighed silently in my heart. I'm sorry, but could you please not mention this to my mom when we get home? I don't want her to worry about me. Su Feng shook her head. It's nothing. We politely parted ways at the intersection. As soon as I got home, my bestie called me immediately to ask about how my blind date went today. I took off my high heels and described to her in the entryway the large-scale Shura field and my socially awkward experience during today's blind date. My best friend was furious. Gu Yanlang must have said something to him. That's why he's become like this. Su Feng is already a university professor at such a young age. It's such a waste of such a good resource. I just smiled and didn't say anything. I didn't have high expectations for this blind date in the first place. But when I finished my shower at night and got into bed, ready to watch a show, I suddenly received a WeChat message from Su Feng. He said, "Are you free next week? There's a pretty good play next week." I was taken aback for a moment. His tastes were quite similar to mine. I went to see a play with Su Feng on the weekend. The play was a success, and I even posted about it on WeChat Moments. We chatted all the way. From the plot to life. The atmosphere was pleasant, and I asked what I really wanted to ask. "Did he say anything to you that day?" Su Feng paused for a moment. "He told me you like to watch plays. You like kittens and puppies. You like listening to Eason Chan's songs. And you also like eating liangzai crayfish." I cheated this time. My heart suddenly sank. But when it floated up again, it landed on soft cotton. I thought he would speak ill of me and try every possible means to stop me. But I never imagined he could so frankly tell others about everything I like. That night when Su Feng dropped me off downstairs in my neighborhood, he asked me, "Do you like me?" I thought about it carefully. The word like seems a bit distant for someone in their 30s. I shook my head bluntly. "Sorry." He gave a wry smile. "It's okay. I'll wait for the day you're free." When the elevator arrived, I suddenly saw Gu Yanlang at my door. His eyes were red, as if he had been crying for a long time. I walked closer and was about to open the door when he suddenly pinned me against the wall, followed by a deluge of kisses that landed on me, and I was burned by his long-lost, scorching kiss, causing me to gasp softly. He held me tightly, and I was indeed dazed for a moment, just like how he used to be, so eager. Every time he came home from a business trip, back then, we were like newlyweds, wishing we could be together all day long. But gradually, he never did that again. I snapped out of it and began to struggle. He hugged me with all his might, as if he wanted to meld me into his body. I tried, but I can't. The thought of you being with another man makes me so jealous I feel like I'm going crazy. I was at a loss for words. You followed me. He wiped his tears haphazardly. Zhang Cheng told me. She saw you and him watching a play today. I sighed. Since you've already taken the first step, you should have thought of this. I tugged at my clothes, about to open the door and go in. He cried hard. Don't be with him. Okay. Let's get back together. Okay. I tried being with Murphy, but it feels completely different from before. I was with her just to make you jealous. I can now confirm that I don't love her. I pushed his hand away. We can't go back. He eagerly took my hand. We can. I'll show you how I can be. I quickly saw his performance. The next day when I went to work, he showed up at our company to discuss business, specifically requesting that I be the point of contact. For a moment, I didn't know what expression to make. The boss patted me on the shoulder. Xiao Zhao, you must properly handle President Gus' needs in the future. Gu Yanlang couldn't suppress the smile at the corner of his mouth. He took out his phone. How about we add each other on WeChat first? It'll be easier to coordinate on business matters. With the leader next to me, I had to bite the bullet and take out my phone to add him back. I consoled myself. It's just one project. I'll delete him as soon as it's done. But I still underestimated his combat power. I received his call when I was half awake in the early morning. Yunwen, where did you put my towel? I can't find it. I mumbled sleepily. The second compartment on the bathroom shelf. I could even hear him chuckle softly. Found it. You little sleepyhead. Get up quickly. The intimate tone was just like before. I rubbed my temples and sat up in bed. Suddenly, I realized something was off. We had been apart for almost half a year. There's no way he wouldn't know where the towel was kept. But I've completely adapted to my current life and don't want to be disturbed. When I came downstairs, Gu Yanlang was already downstairs with breakfast in hand. Eat quickly. I'll take you to work after you finish. I didn't take his breakfast. Just looked at him steadily and said, I think we're just work colleagues. He lowered his head, but still stuffed the breakfast into my arms. You still need to eat. Your stomach isn't good. Having said that, he drove away and disappeared from my sight. Due to the project docking, I started to have more contact with him. Gu Yanlang started to talk to me about all sorts of things. Just like I used to. He sent me WeChat messages, telling me about the bizarre clients he encountered during today's social engagements. He told me that the mocha at the coffee shop around the corner was delicious, and we should go together next time. He even started asking me how to iron shirts. I stared blankly at the messages on my phone, but had no desire to open them. My colleague also caught a glimpse of my phone and leaned in gossipily. Got a boyfriend. He's quite clingy. I smiled awkwardly. Just ordinary friends. My colleague's probing gaze swept over me. I don't think it's just that, is it? I smiled. How could I not know his intentions? How many approaches under the guise of ordinary friends are actually more than just ordinary friends? But I only felt annoyed. I guess he probably felt the same way about me back then. I replied to him perfunctorily, mostly talking about business matters. On the day the project ended, I needed to go to Gu Yanlang's company for a final presentation. The feeling was completely different when I stepped back into his company. His employees peeked out, and even Zhang Cheng whispered to ask if I had reconciled with President Gu. I shook my head. We are just in a client-vendor relationship. I quickly put away my sentimental feelings and skillfully turned on the computer and opened the completed PPT. I was on stage explaining every detail of the plan, while Gu Yanlang sat below listening, occasionally asking a few questions, and with thorough project preparation. I perfectly answered his questions. I was immersed in the entire presentation, not noticing the way he was looking at me at all. By the time the presentation ended, it was already over an hour later. After the meeting, only Gu Yanlang and I remained in the room. You've improved a lot and are more confident than before. When I was listening to your report just now, it suddenly occurred to me, how come I didn't notice this side of you before? Ambition is always a woman's best preservative for maintaining her charm. I didn't even look up. Yeah, after leaving President Gu, I realized that I can be more than just doing your laundry and cooking. His face immediately turned green and then white. Yunwen. I smiled, as if reconciling with the past. It's all in the past. Zhang Cheng pushed the door open and came in. President Gu, we have team building today. It's almost time. You can get ready. I packed up my laptop bag, but Gu Yanlang grabbed me. It's just about lunchtime. Want to go eat together? The scene before me highly overlapped with the one from our breakup. The grievances that had accumulated in my heart surged up, but I forcibly held them back. I pointed to the button on his cuff that was hanging by a thread. Pay attention next time you do laundry. Gu Yanlang suddenly looked up at me. I guessed he must have understood what I meant. He let go of my hand. I'm sorry. I ignored him and pushed the door open to leave. I thought I had forgotten. But when those long-standing grievances were finally addressed, and that neglect was finally met with attention, I couldn't help but tear up. For a long time afterward, he never sent me another WeChat message. It was as if, this time, it was a real breakup, and I had long been used to life without him. In these days, I worked hard and gained the recognition of my leaders, and now I can stand on my own. In my spare time, I enjoy delicious food and travel everywhere, keeping myself busy and happy. Later, I saw Gu Yanlang again at Zhang Cheng's wedding. I originally just wanted to give a cash gift, but I couldn't resist the bride's constant invitations. I arrived early at the banquet and took an inconspicuous corner. And with so many empty seats, Gu Yanlang happened to sit next to me. We didn't speak to each other. Halfway through the wedding, I watched the bride talk about how they met and fell in love, and heard the groom solemnly promise her a lifetime of commitment. My eyes couldn't help but get a little wet. Beautiful love is always something people yearn for. At the end of the wedding, the bride threw the bouquet into the crowd. This time I was standing in the corner, but I caught it perfectly. Unlike the last time I caught the bouquet and longed to get married, this time, I understand that marriage is not everything, and I can live well on my own. Zhang Cheng cheered. Yunwen must find happiness this year. She looked at Gu Yanlang standing next to me. Sometimes happiness is right beside you. I know she meant for me to get back together with him, but right now, I have absolutely no interest in getting married, because I no longer need someone else to give me happiness. I can be happiness itself. After the wedding, I mingled with the crowd and walked out of the hotel. The sun shone on me, and all I could see was golden. I took a deep breath, and for the rest of my life, I will just live well and strive for happiness. Okay, I laughed.